All right, so you guys sent this article in. It's called Hip Hop Heads Turned Energy Revolutionaries by Lennox Bray. And let me tell you, this one's...
wild.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
It's about these two guys, Jonah J. Boogie Grant and Trevor Tree Styles Martinez. And they might have stumbled onto something really massive.
Huge, yeah.
A way to turn water into fuel.
It's a big one if it's true.
Yeah. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to unpack this story. We're going to look at the science and explore what it would mean if this is actually legit.
I think what's so interesting is it really challenges our assumptions about like where innovation comes from, you know? Like these guys, Jonah and Trevor, just two friends from Chicago, love hip hop, got a podcast called Beat Street Breakdown.
Yeah.
Nothing in their background says, hey, these guys are going to, you know, change the world with science.
Pioneers, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But here they are potentially on the verge of something that could like topple the oil industry, you know?
Disrupt everything.
Yeah, totally.
It's a real David and Goliath story, but let's rewind a bit and meet these accidental revolutionaries. The article describes them as just everyday guys, passionate about music, digging through record crates, interviewing up-and-coming artists on their podcast. They were even researching vinyl record manufacturing for this custom hip-hop compilation
yeah.
they were putting together.
Which is so interesting that that's where this all started.
I know.
So they're, you know, researching vinyl production, and Trevor, he discovers this like century-old patent buried in the online archives.
Wow.
This patent, filed by a relatively unknown inventor named Silas Blackwood back in 1911, detailed this method for converting certain water-based solutions into a combustible fuel.
Wait a minute, hold on. A patent from 1911?
Yeah.
What did it say? Like, was there any actual science behind it?
Well, the patent itself is very technical.
Sure.
But the core principle was using a specific combo of electrolysis and pressure to like break down the molecular bonds in water and restructure them into a hydrocarbon-like substance. You know, back then Blackwood's work was just dismissed, you know, labeled as pseudoscience.
Yeah, of course.
But if what Jonah and Trevor are saying is true, maybe Blackwood was really onto something.
Yeah. So they find this ancient patent and they decide to just try it out.
Yeah.
Do they have any background in chemistry at all?
So according to the article, Jonah had like a childhood fascination with science.
Okay.
He had this dusty old chemistry set in his basement, a relic from his, you know, experimenting days as a kid.
Right.
They were skeptical, of course, but intrigued enough to start tinkering, combining elements from Blackwood's patents with a modern twist they picked up on, of all places, a hip-hop production forum online.
What? A hip-hop production forum?
Yeah.
What kind of twist could they even find there? This is getting weirder and weirder.
And so apparently there was this thread about DIY audio equipment mods, and someone had posted about using a specific type of electrolytic capacitor to boost audio signals.
Yeah.
Jonah and Trevor, in a stroke of like, you know, creative improvisation, adapted this concept to their fuel experiment.
Wow.
And that seemingly was the key.
So they're mixing up chemicals in a basement, inspired by a century-old patent and a random online forum.
Pretty much, yeah.
What happened next? Did they actually create something?
So their initial experiments, they yielded this murky, kind of flammable liquid.
Okay.
Encouraged, but still unsure, Jonah took a small sample to his cousin's barbershop.
Okay.
He poured a few drops into a Zippo lighter, and to everyone's astonishment, the flame, it burned bright, it burned clean.
No way.
It wasn't water anymore.
Talk about an aha moment. I bet that got people talking.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's a barbershop, a Zippo lighter.
Yeah.
Suddenly you've got the attention of everyone in the room.
Exactly. It was a demonstration that resonated with everyday people.
Yeah.
Word spread quickly, and soon Jonah and Trevor were hosting this private demonstration in a friend's warehouse.
Oh, wow.
This time, they invited a bunch of local mechanics, gearheads. Each brought their dirt bikes.
So they were scaling things up.
Yeah.
Did it work on a larger scale?
The warehouse demo was even more dramatic.
Okay.
They drained the fuel tanks of these dirt bikes, filled them with this new liquid, and one by one, the engines roared to life.
Wow.
Someone filmed the whole thing, and the video, it just blew up online.
Hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah, it went totally viral.
This is where things start to get really interesting, right?
Yeah.
You've got this incredible discovery, potentially world-changing. But then what happens?
Well, the attention this video got wasn't all positive.
Right.
Independent lab tests, They confirmed that the liquid was a combustible fuel,
Okay.
but no one could figure out how it was created.
Really?
Scientists were baffled. They couldn't replicate the process, and the chemical composition remained a total mystery. One chemist, who was quoted in the article, he said it was the closest thing he'd seen to a hydrocarbon, but it defied all known principles of chemistry.
It's like they cracked some ancient code that no one else can understand.
Yeah.
But if the science is so perplexing, how did Jonah and Trevor even manage to create this fuel in the first place?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
It seems like a combination of luck, intuition, and a willingness to experiment outside the confines of traditional science.
Yeah.
But their breakthrough, unfortunately, wasn't met with universal acclaim. Things took a darker turn after the video went viral. They stumbled onto something big, something that threatened powerful interests, and the consequences were swift.
So this is where we enter the realm of big trouble, as the article calls it. Unmarked SUVs, mysterious investors, legal threats, and ultimately a sudden disappearance. We'll delve into that in part 2 of our deep dives. But before we do, what stands out to you so far about this story?
What intrigues me is this intersection of seemingly disparate elements. Hip-hop culture, a forgotten patent, a random online forum, and a basement chemistry set. It's a reminder that innovation can arise from the most unexpected places.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it also raises this critical question about the nature of scientific breakthroughs and the forces that often seek to control them.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. It's a story that seems ripped from the headlines and dropped into a sci-fi thriller. We'll see what happens next in part 2. We left off with Jonah and Trevor riding this wave of viral fame, having seemingly achieved the impossible, turning water into fuel. But as we all know, the bigger the splash, the stronger the undertow.
yeah, their discovery, while it captivated the public, it also triggered these alarm bells in certain corridors of power.
Oh, yeah?
They accidentally stepped onto some very powerful toes.
Yeah, the article details a series of increasingly unsettling events that began shortly after their warehouse demonstration went viral.
Right.
First, there were the unmarked SUVs parked outside their homes. Classic intimidation tactic.
Yeah, a not-so-subtle message that they were being watched.
Yeah, like every move was being scrutinized.
Right, it's a common tactic to
Yeah.
instill fear and discourage further actions.
Exactly. And it escalated quickly. A well-dressed representative, as the article describes him, showed up at Jonah's door, offering a blank check, no questions asked for the rights to their process. When Jonah pressed for details about who he represented, the guy just said, "Interested parties."
That's so telling. Interested parties, it's often a euphemism for powerful entities operating in the shadows.
Behind the scenes.
People whose interests are directly threatened by disruptive technologies.
Exactly.
Like the one Jonah and Trevor had seemingly stumbled upon.
Yeah, and Jonah turned down the offer, sensing something wasn't right.
Of course.
But that only seemed to make things worse. Both he and Trevor started receiving anonymous legal threats.
Oh, wow.
Warnings that demonstrating an unregistered fuel product could land them in serious trouble with environmental regulations.
Ah, yes, the weaponization of legal complexities.
Right.
It's a common strategy to stifle innovation that threatens the status quo.
Of course.
Like, they might claim Jonah and Trevor were violating environmental regulations by producing and demonstrating an unregistered fuel.
Yeah.
Even though those regulations were designed for conventional fossil fuels,
Right.
not a water-based alternative.
So it wasn't just the scientific community struggling to understand their discovery.
Yeah.
They were also facing pressure from powerful entities who, for one reason or another, wanted them to just disappear.
It's a classic David versus Goliath scenario.
Totally.
Two ordinary guys with a potentially world-altering discovery
Yeah.
find themselves up against these forces with deep pockets and a vested interest in maintaining the current energy paradigm.
And then, as the pressure mounted, Jonah and Trevor vanished.
Wow.
Their social media went silent, their podcast stopped updating, friends and family were left wondering what happened.
A sudden and calculated disappearance often suggests a deliberate effort to evade powerful adversaries.
Right.
They knew they were in over their heads, and their instinct was to go off the grid.
There were a few cryptic messages. One text to a friend said, "Can't talk, don't trust phone, we're leaving." And another email to a mentor read, "Need to lay low for a minute. Watch for the suits. We'll be back when it's safe." It all sounds very cloak and dagger.
Yeah, those messages paint a chilling picture. They knew they were being monitored.
Yeah.
That their communications were compromised.
Right.
Staying put would have put them in serious danger.
The article mentions a few rumors about their whereabouts.
Oh, really?
Some say they holed up in a remote cabin. Others claim they fled to Canada. There was even a rumor that they were in Europe trying to secure a patent far from the reach of those who wanted to silence them.
It's a testament to the intrigue surrounding their story.
Yeah.
The lack of concrete information, it fuels speculation and allows for this mythology to develop around their disappearance.
And adding to the mystery, the original video of their warehouse demonstration was scrubbed from social media. Any re-uploads were quickly taken down. It's like someone is actively trying to erase any evidence of their discovery.
It's a coordinated effort to control the narrative, to limit the spread of information that could challenge the prevailing power structures.
For sure.
Information control is a powerful tool.
Absolutely, especially in the digital age.
Yeah.
So where does that leave us? Are Jonah and Trevor still out there? Did they manage to escape the clutches of those interested parties? Or did something happen to them?
We are left with more questions than answers.
Right.
It's a story that blurs the lines between science, conspiracy, and the very real implications of challenging, deeply entrenched systems.
And even if we set aside the cloak and dagger elements, there's still the scientific enigma to consider.
Right.
If Jonah and Trevor actually achieved what they claim, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
How did they unlock a secret that's eluded scientists for centuries?
That's the core mystery that continues to fascinate, isn't it?
Yeah.
And maybe the answer lies not just in the realm of chemistry, but in a different kind of alchemy.
Okay.
The fusion of chance, persistence, and an unwavering belief in the power of discovery.
I like that. And it raises another question.
What's that?
What if Jonah and Trevor's story isn't an isolated incident? What if there are other Blackwoods out there, other forgotten patents, other seemingly impossible discoveries just waiting to be unearthed?
And what if those discoveries threaten the status quo?
Right. Will they be met with the same resistance and attempts at suppression?
It's a sobering thought,
Yeah.
but it also underscores the importance of keeping an open mind,
Of course.
questioning assumptions, and recognizing that the pursuit of knowledge can sometimes lead to uncomfortable truths.
We've explored the mystery, the science, and the intrigue. But let's shift gears a bit in part 3. What if this water fuel technology is real? What would it mean for the world? What would it mean for you? We'll delve into those questions and more in the final part of our deep dive. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We explored the mystery of Jonah and Trevor's disappearance. We dug into that perplexing science behind their water-to-fuel discovery, and then uncovered that unsettling pressure they were facing from powerful entities.
All right.
So now let's shift gears a little bit and explore, like, the hypothetical, right?
Yeah.
What if this technology is real? What would it mean for the world, for us?
I mean, the implications are really staggering.
Yeah.
It would be a paradigm shift, like on a scale we rarely see in human history, imagine. A world where fuel is abundant, cheap, and readily available to everyone.
Wow.
The geopolitical landscape, it would be redrawn overnight.
It's mind-boggling to think about.
Yeah.
No more dependence on oil-rich nations, no more fighting over dwindling resources. The balance of power would shift so dramatically. But what about the everyday implications? How would this impact people's lives?
Well, the ripple effects would be felt everywhere.
Yeah.
The cost of transportation would plummet, impacting everything from the price of goods to global trade routes, manufacturing, energy production, even agriculture. It would all be revolutionized.
Wow.
The economic implications alone are immense.
And what about the environmental impact? We're constantly bombarded with news about climate change and the urgent need for clean energy solutions. Would this be the answer we've been searching for?
Theoretically, yes. If we could produce a clean-burning fuel from water, it would be a monumental step towards reducing our reliance on fossil fuels and mitigating the effects of climate change. Imagine a world with cleaner air, healthier ecosystems, and a more sustainable future for everyone.
It sounds almost too good to be true.
It does.
But you mentioned earlier that such a dramatic shift would also present some challenges.
Yeah.
What are some of the potential downsides?
Well, transitions, even positive ones, are rarely seamless.
Right.
The shift away from fossil fuels would disrupt entire industries.
Right.
There would be significant job displacement in the oil and gas sector, impacting millions of workers, and potentially leading to economic instability in regions heavily reliant on those industries.
So while there's this potential for immense good, there's also a need for careful planning.
Absolutely.
The responsible approach to implementation.
Yeah, you don't want to solve one crisis by creating another.
Exactly. This hypothetical scenario really highlights that complex interplay between scientific advancements, economic realities, and social equity.
It really
A
does.
discovery like this wouldn't just be a technological marvel. It would be a catalyst for some profound societal change, requiring careful consideration
Yeah,
and a global effort to navigate the transition effectively.
I agree. It's a lot to process, and unfortunately, we still don't know if Jonah and Trevor's discovery is the real deal or just an illusion.
Right.
But even if their story turns out to be, a hoax or a dream that never materialized, it still raises some important questions.
Absolutely. It reminds us to stay curious, to question assumptions, and to never dismiss the potential for breakthroughs, even when they seem to defy conventional wisdom.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, it'll inspire some of us to keep searching, to
Right.
keep tinkering, to keep that spark of innovation alive.
Who knows? Maybe the next world-changing discovery is right around the corner.
Yeah.
Just waiting for someone with a curious mind and a willingness to challenge the status quo.
I love that. So that's the story of Jonah and Trevor, the hip-hop heads who might have just rewritten the rules of energy production.
Mhm.
We may never know what truly happened,
Yeah.
but their tale really reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge can lead to unexpected places,
Absolutely.
uncovering mysteries that challenge our understanding of the world and ignite our imagination.
It's true. And as we navigate an increasingly complex world,
Yeah.
grappling with challenges, both scientific and societal, perhaps their story can serve as a source of inspiration, a reminder that even amidst uncertainty, there's always hope for a brighter future.
So well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll leave you with this. What if you were in Jonah and Trevor's shoes? What would you do next? What impact do you hope to have on the world? Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.